so it'll be a fun one.
All right, guys, I'm going to make the intro now. Give me 1 second. All right, guys, thank you for joining us here at Because Bitcoin. I am King Wabi, and today we're here joined by none other than Saga XYZ and one of the founders, Jin Kwan. And we're also joined by a good friend of the show, Spark IBC. And today we're just going to talk about what Saga is about. I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your Sunday. Today is Super Bowl Sunday. Thank you for taking the time to join us here. And just as a reminder, the space will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel 5 to 10 minutes after the space is concluded. And be sure to check out our pinned tweet here, Because Bitcoin, and check out our sponsor, BangX. And if you want to join our Discord, link is up in the bio, free channels and all that stuff. And without further ado, I want to welcome Saga, Spark, and Jin. Saga, how are you guys doing today?
Doing great. My name is Joe Dierte. That's my internet name, longtime Cosmos Network guy, and I will be representing Saga today. I am the head of community marketing, branding, that kind of stuff, and I'll let Jin Kwan go next, the co-founder.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks, Joe. Jin here, co-founder and chief strategy officer at Saga, and we're really happy to be here to kind of talk about what our product is and what our vision is ultimately so that it's and everybody can learn a little bit more about what we're doing here.
Perfect, man. So let's get the show on the road. My first question to you guys is, what brought forth the idea of Saga, and what is it that you guys want to do in the Cosmos ecosystem for Saga? This is a question for Saga.
Wait, so when you say Saga, is that like
in general, in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let Jin take this one. Even though I'm under the Saga account, Jin's he's the brains behind the operation. He's the co-founder, so I'll let him take that question.
No. I'm just here to funnel in all the feedback from the rest of the team. So, so originally the concept of Saga. So me and Joe were back actually at Tendermint, and he joined a little bit later, but I've been in Tendermint since 2018 time period, and saw kind of like the launch of the hub and IBC and the proliferation of the entire Cosmos ecosystem. And one of the things that we found very difficult to do is convincing projects to jump over to Cosmos and build their own app chain. And there's various barriers to entries to doing this, including like validator sets. You need a staking token. You need some kind of economic system to make that staking token valuable, and then and you also need to do the whole coordination of the genesis, all that. Like there's a lot of stuff going on there. And so most developers who wanted to kind of start doing something, their alternative is, hey, let's just go to somewhere like ETH or Solana and just do like a single deploy on an application. It's a lot easier than trying to do something on Cosmos. And so we got together and we started brainstorming a little bit about like, hey, how do we make this a little bit easier? How do we make because we know for a fact that app chains is going to be the future and how the scaling is going to happen in Web3. We just need a path to essentially get there and make it a lot easier for people. And so the idea ultimately was to kind of make Saga this like automatic deployment of app chains for people, so that it's so much easier. Essentially, it's almost as easy as just like launching on a smart contract platform today.
Yeah, and I'll add a little bit more color there. So because the idea of Saga evolved over time. At first, the vision was to give anybody the ability to launch their own just general Cosmos SDK Go chain. But then we dug into it a little bit more and realized that's actually not what the market wants. The market wants the ability to have almost zero coding ability of like the Cosmos SDK, et cetera, and just get their own virtual machine. We're starting with the EVM because we think it has the most network effect, but just to snap your fingers and get a virtual machine ready for you and you're ready to deploy code. So that's kind of how the vision actually evolved over time a little bit.
Yeah, and so like the thing that we I know a lot of projects kind of analogize themselves to AWS, but it is something that we think a lot about, which is compute as a service. And the way that it works in Web 2 today is you don't like most projects out there who are building on the internet, they don't really go and provision their own data centers, and they don't need to know how to do that. Like AWS kind of figures that out for you. And that seems like a much more intuitive way of thinking about it. And so our product model and our philosophy really kind of follows suits with that kind of model, where we think the core Go Cosmos SDK layer is a little bit more akin to how to do like orchestration and things like that in an Amazon cluster. Like every developer doesn't need to really know how to do that. What they want to focus on essentially is the app on top. And what Saga aims to do essentially is to handle all of the infrastructure stuff for the developers, and then open up essentially an environment for these developers to be able to get almost block space on demand. And we call it elastic block space essentially, which allows people to get blockchains depending on how much they need. You can get multiple and very easily essentially.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. I love having you here. Beautiful explanation. So I wanted to know, you guys have partnered with teams like Polygon and even Celestia. And, I'm a big believer in what they're trying to build out with blockchain modularity on Cosmos and all those things. So I wanted to know, as far as Saga is concerned, how are you guys going to help facilitate that? I know you guys have your rollups features, like rollups as a service and all that stuff. Would you guys be able to go into detail about that? I'd love to learn more.
Yeah, I'd just say the traditional blockchain is a monolithic stack, we call it, where you have everything wrapped together. You have data availability, consensus, block execute, like all this stuff is just wrapped together into one layer. Where Celestia's huge idea was, we are going to optimize just for building a data availability layer. And when you do that, you can get some incredible outcomes. And that's all. You'd have to look into the research of Mustafa, the head, but he kind of came up with this idea very early on and co-wrote a paper with Vitalik Buterin around how you can get exponential improvements in the amount of data availability you can push through a network through data availability sampling. So anyway, that's a long answer to, they were the first ones to go down that road of modularity. But that's just the one layer of data availability. There's still the rest of what makes up a traditional monolithic blockchain. So we at Saga are focusing on another part of the stack, and we're kind of going very much down the modular road of just the validator and the execution side of things. So I can let Jin add a little more light from there.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. That's a really good understanding of Celestia. I think I would generalize this a little bit more in the conversation. So, in the most kind of blockchain ecosystems today, they have even if they're not monolithic, they have a very like our technology point of view, and that's not the way that we think about things. So, from our perspective, we're trying to build out a platform, and a platform kind of means that we do whatever the developer wants us to do ultimately. And so let's take an example, right? So if a developer says, hey, they want app chains that are based on Cosmos SDK with like an Ethernet module to get an EVM chainlet, it's like, okay, great, we'll support that. If the developer says, hey, we want data availability handled by Celestia, we want you to use Rollmint, we'll handle that. It's kind of the same way as I kind of mentioned AWS before, but AWS doesn't really care if on their compute platform, you're running Ruby on Rails, Node.js, whatever flavor of Linux. Like they don't really have an opinion about what stack goes on top of their compute resources, and we're kind of the same way. So Saga essentially, think of it almost as we're here to just give developers affordable block space, and whatever flavor that may be, we will support all of them down the future. And our CTO is going to kill me if I said that, but eventually we'll be able to do any technology out there. And so Celestia is just one slice of that. Polygon is another slice of that. But in the long run, we can imagine essentially it won't be just our team working on this. It'll be a whole ecosystem of people plugging into our platform. So we should be able to support, like a Solana chainlet, a AVAX chainlet, whatever. We don't really care, right? All we care about is the compute block space coming from Saga, and it's like, look, that's great, and then whatever you want to build on top, it's like the developer can have as much flexibility as they want ultimately. And so that's I think philosophy wise, that's the way that we approach things, which is why we're able to have these kinds of discussions with giant partners, because of the way that we're agnostic to the actual technology that's being run on top of our system.
And leaves Saga very open to innovations in both the consensus space and the virtual machine space. So we're very much looking forward to adding Cosm as our second virtual machine. We think that is right behind EVM. I mean, EVM's a mile ahead. They're kind of just dominant far away. But Cosm is picking up space among the developer community. But that doesn't mean that Move doesn't become the next one, or Avalanche is talking about making a Cosmos enabled chain. Solana. I mean, it gets really exciting where it goes, and leaves Saga open to a lot of different outcomes being successful.
Yeah, and it's developer demand driven, right? So we're not gonna we're not gonna go and put the effort in integrating every technology from the very beginning, obviously, because we have to prioritize. But it's based on where the customers are and what they want and what technology that they want. We can sample that from everywhere. Eventually, we can sample that from base Ethereum as well, right? So this is something that is quite different from the way that most people treat their ecosystem. They're like, oh, we have a core technology that our team builds, and it's like, this is our technology. It's like, we don't have that opinion. And in the long run, we want to open this up for other teams to actually build their stack, and then hopefully we can have economic incentives to figure out ways to pay these people who are developing technology stacks to launch on Saga. And so we want to build that kind of ecosystem overall. But obviously, in the very beginning, we're going to be the first ones kind of making these technology stacks and ourselves internally.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I wanted to follow up with you guys on what you guys just said. I wanted to know, since you guys are building the infrastructure for things like Metaverse and all that sort of stuff to be built on it, I want to know, is it possible with what Saga's building, right? Would it be possible, say, like in 5 to 10 years, for the technology that we currently have right now, would it be possible for that to be integrated with things like augmented reality and further build upon what the Metaverse is eventually going to look like? Is that something that you guys have entertained?
I think Meta becoming Meta kind of told you that, in my opinion. Like, the metaverse and the digital economy is growing, and like the future is these digital ledgers, because it's so much better than anything before. As far as like the gaming and the AR and VR developing that far, I feel like it's almost like an independent tech track from crypto, and they'll kind of collide at the same time. Like, AI is also coming in, and AI can accelerate game development and like AR, VR, like so I guess that's kind of my point of view. The limiting factor is really just really good games and VR experiences, and I think Meta took a step there. I got one of the Oculuses, and I have a ton of fun with it, and golf, and I mean boxing, I get a freaking sweat in, but it's not quite to the level where, like, I think the future iterations will be insane. So that's kind of my point of view on it. I don't know what Jim's point of view is, but
yeah. Well, I don't have a specific opinion about AR, but in terms of like Saga itself as a platform, like we as a core team are not going to go out and develop these things. What we are planning on doing essentially is opening up a service layer on top of the Saga platform that allows all these different, and it's not just AR, it's like it actually goes much deeper than that. There's already kind of existing gaming service and infrastructures in place, right? There's gaming distribution, there's gaming, like just general gaming platforms. There's already kind of economies. There's other like software companies that are much more bigger than kind of software companies in crypto that have been doing this for a very long time. And so from our perspective, we're not going to be competing against all of these players. What we want to do is open up service layers on top and allow those people to plug into Saga and kind of integrate those technologies into ultimately the blockchain ecosystem. And that's probably the way that we tackle all this.
And I want to bring this conversation over to Spark. Spark, given that Saga is going to be an ecosystem where people can build upon, and it's going to have many virtual machines to move, Solana, and all those things, how can Spark or Interchain come into the fray to help it easier for developers and also consumers to help out one another within Saga?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, man, I
Spark,
got to involve you, bro. I got to involve you. You're gonna be a pretty key infrastructure player in all of this, in my opinion.
Spark, maybe not as much, since we're very much focused on like chain agnostic stuff. And I think your guys' target audience at Spark is people who might not even want to know what the word chain agnostic would mean. They just want to like reap the benefits of blockchain and build their thing. But Interchain info, I think, could help, because one of the reasons I'm so bullish on you guys is because I do think you're going to be one of the catalysts for like exponential growth in the Cosmos in terms of number of chains, user adoption, just general like volume and such. And so with that, obviously the Cosmos gets yet harder to like explore and navigate. And you guys have like a pretty awesome ecosystem page right now that we've talked about a bit, Joe. But we'd love to kind of like take that a step further. And once you guys are full and launched, make sure that every one of your chains and projects on there has a fleshed out page in our index for the Saga ecosystem, just because I can imagine 5 years after you guys launch, if someone is coming into Saga from the Cosmos perspective, as opposed to discovering it through one of your apps that's already built there, like where do they even start? Like, I think you guys really will have 1,000 chains before you know it. And that's going to be hard to navigate. So we'd love to maybe even spend a little special attention on Saga and helping set up ways for users to navigate that. In general, though, like one reason I'm so bullish on you guys, and tell me if you think this is a fair sort of analogy, I guess, to what you're doing. There's been like a pretty popular conversation, or at least it's been growing more and more in Web3, mainly amongst like UX designers, and mainly applying to like gaming and non-DeFi products, where the idea is like abstract away the Web3 parts of it. The golden sort of phrase I've heard a couple times that I love is like, let users reap the benefits of blockchain tech without having to understand the complexity of it. So that would be like in a sign-up flow, maybe simple things like calling a seed phrase a passphrase, or just making it feel more familiar. What those sort of conversations and UX developers are doing for the end user, I feel like it's what you guys are doing for developers and builders, where it's like you're specialized in this one thing, whether it's gaming or some unique like idea for an app you have. You don't need to also be an expert on tokenomics and how to secure a good validator set and figure out the Cosmos SDK. Like, we can provide the infrastructure for that so that you can thrive with whatever you're good at and reap these benefits without getting bogged down in them. And like, I think that's so exciting, because the UX convo I was referring to is also one of my most favorite conversations happening right now. I think we're kind of past the point where people think blockchain's going to take over and replace everything, which means where it is going to fit in is just a tool, like somewhere in many app software stacks that, yeah, it's not like everything's going to be totally blockchainized. It's going to be kind of like AWS. Like you said, the average user, when they go to a website, they don't know if it's running on AWS. They probably don't even know what AWS is, but they're reaping the benefits of what that provides to the product they're using or the website they're visiting. And that's where I see you guys fitting in.
This is a
that's really well said, actually.
Yeah. You see why I like Tendermint Timmy, but
Yeah.
just run real quick comment off what you said. You wouldn't believe how many people don't understand or know what AWS is. Like, I talk to really smart people that are like up to date on all things finance and everything, and they're like, AWS, what's that? I'm like, oh God. Like, I didn't figure it out until I went down the Akash rabbit hole. Like, I mean, I was in love with Akash like 2 years ago, but still, like, exactly what you said. So true. All this complex technology needs to get abstracted away if we're ever going to get true adoption. And I just see like the internet, like the first version of the internet as like the playbook. Like at first it was
Yeah.
hard to launch a website and it was expensive. And like Jin said, like these people had to like host their own servers in their building. Like that didn't scale.
Yeah.
That didn't scale. It just didn't.
You know, actually, building off that, one thing we could potentially do in future with like Interchain Info and you guys, because I know you put so much work into your own ecosystem page, maybe we make it so your ecosystem page or ours, these could be swapped around, vice versa, is focused on abstracting away that Web3 part of it, just focusing on what the product there is, the game, whatever. And then the other sort of ecosystem database is for the more Web3 minded people where like, okay, cool, this is a game, but how is it using blockchain? What are maybe tokenomics, like that sort of thing. And so it provides two different information sets to what honestly are kind of disjointed user bases.
I love that.
Yeah. This has always been a problem with blockchain in general. There's a lot of stakeholders that you need to funnel into your UI and your websites essentially, because especially in like Cosmos, there's like the validator set, there's the community, like the token holders, and then there's like the developer community. There's like all these different people who kind of need to funnel into one place. Yeah, it's really hard to make it work in like a singular location, as you mentioned.
And I just love the visual of, hey, if you want to learn more about like the Web3 tech side, like you want to build on Saga, whatever, go to this place. If you are just like want to explore the Saga ecosystem, you shouldn't need to know any of that. Like that, yeah, I love your point, Timmy. I can just get already a beautiful image of what the technical side looks like and like the, hey, welcome to the Saga gaming universe side.
Let's go, dude. I love that. So, guys, I wanted to ask, this is a more broader question. So, what are some of the issues being currently discussed within the Cosmos dev community, and how is Saga working to facilitate those issues?
I'm going to say one real quick. Jin will probably have his own. I think governance gated interchain security is an issue and it's non-scalable. I think it will work for Atom for 5-10 chains like Neutron, Noble, all these top tier chains. It'll work fine that are already in the pipeline. But like governance gated interchain security, I think is not great. Jin can go next.
Well, to also in general, there's a lot of discussions about governance, and I think that it's a hot topic these days. I think the issue with at least the Atom community is, and I think that's true for almost all the Cosmos chains, is every issue is like a direct democracy issue, and I think even the real world has already kind of figured out that direct democracy doesn't really work for all issues. And it's like one of those things where back when I used to live in California, I used to get these like ballots for like dialysis like stuff, and I'm like, I have no idea. Like, why am I voting on this, right? And it's for the vast majority of the token holders, it's like very difficult to actually understand fully what's going on in governance and really fully participate. It's a cool system if everyone was engaged like that, but the reality is not everyone is, and so everyone kind of funnels into these weird places. And I would say that I think Joe is right. The fact that a lot of like the way that we're thinking about the deployment of our chainlets is like, let's keep it as far away from governance as possible, and which is why like our entire design is permissionless. It makes it a little bit as I said, the entire design is to make it easier for people to launch new chains, and having governance involved in anything doesn't sound like the best idea in my opinion. So,
and it goes even, I love Jin's point. It goes beyond like having the time to actually like stay up to date on all the governance proposals. There's also like the technical chops of even weighing in on certain proposals. Like let's say last year there was an upgrade proposal on It was one of the Cosmos networks. I'm not going to say what particular. And there ended up being a bug in it that should have been, quote unquote, should have been noticed by the voters. But like, should it really? Like, I don't know. I've never read code for an upgrade on a Cosmos chain. I just have faith in the developers, right? So like, that's where it even goes far like beyond time to like, can you actually vote on this proposal, or do you have to delegate that to someone else? Which is interesting space to explore.
Yeah, and I think the real good question also is the validator the right group to delegate that to? I guess in that case maybe, but like for a lot of things, it's like, yeah, there's some like really interesting governance design questions that we have for the kind of like the base model that Cosmos has decided, that like kind of breaks down not in the technical level but in like the social level. But coming back to the question about technical things, I think one of the big things that we're thinking a lot about is IBC and interoperability. There's one of the things that we're trying to do is make every chainlet interoperable with each other like kind of automatically. And there's some complexities involved with that, because as you get 1,000 chainlets, do we need like exponential like n squared number of relayer nodes and things like that? And the answer is probably no. The nice thing about our system is that because our validator sets between all the chainlets are identical, we can do some clever things to make the throughput or the requirements essentially of IBC a little bit easier. Because like one of the things that IBC does is it checks the validator set of the other side essentially using light clients, but we know the validator set of the other side because it's our validator. Each chainlet knows the other chainlet's validator set because it's identical to my validator set. So we can kind of remove a lot of these requirements essentially that makes it a little bit easier for us to scale out and with IBC, because I think IBC with relayers, it's a little bit also another one of those things for developers that makes it a little bit more complicated. Like for example, back in the day, remember when Cosmos Hub had the DEX on it, and there used to be all these connections to all these chains, and then as soon as that went away, all the relayers are gone, and now the connections are no longer there. And so, what if you had assets there in that chain that were Atom? Like now you can't bring it back until there's a governance vote. It's like it's kind of a mess, and so we want to make that a little bit easier. That's something that we've been kind of thinking about internally.
Amazing. I'm loving what I'm hearing here. And I know you guys have your innovator programs and cohort 2 and all those things. So in the background, I wanted to know from all the people that are coming to you guys inquiring about, hey, how can we help Saga? What can we build on Saga? I wanted to know what genre is coming more to you guys. Is it more like Metaverse and GameFi? Is it more DeFi applications? Do you see people wanting to build like maybe an Aave or a Maker or Dexes, or maybe something like a Sandbox or DeFi Kingdoms? What specific type of dApps are coming to you guys for the most part to inquire towards building on Saga?
So one thing, the really good question. So one thing to start with is Saga is a generalized platform, right? Anything like everything you mentioned, like whether it's DeFi, gaming, social, they can all kind of run on Saga as their own app chain. But as a team, we have limited resources, and there's kind of network effects that can exist from focusing on one segment. And so as a kind of go-to-market, we've decided very early on that we're going to target gaming and entertainment. And so because of that and that network effect that we mentioned, a lot of the inbound is through kind of our already existing innovators who are predominantly gaming and entertainment. And which is nice because like what will happen is essentially is one innovator will say, hey, there's this tool that I use and I want them integrated onto Saga. And then we'll talk to that tool developer, and they'll get included in the Saga Innovator program. And so I think in the long run, we want to expand to other verticals, but at least until launch, we're very focused on gaming. And that's probably where the vast majority of the activity has been.
And one of the reasons why that happened is early on, we were thinking, okay, So if the Saga future becomes reality, then we will have, in some senses, commoditized block space. What does that mean when you commoditize block space? Like, what what use cases that previously weren't available are now available? And our thought was, it is lower economic value transactions are the ones that benefit most from having cheaper block space. So then we said, okay, what leans that direction? We said, okay, the perfect thing is entertainment, NFTs, and that side, because DeFi, probably the other main pillar of crypto, they are willing to take a little bit bigger transaction fees on their swaps, and it's okay to have a little bit more expensive block space if you're doing a $30,000 Uniswap trade. But if you're playing a game and you're playing RuneScape and you get some ore or whatever, you win a battle, you don't want to pay a crazy amount for that block space because the value is not a crazy amount. So anyway, that's what made us early on say, okay, this is where we want to focus, because we think Saga can lead to new applications that couldn't exist before in this vertical.
I wanted to follow that up. I know you guys just mentioned the metaverse and things of that nature. This is a very important issue within the cosmos, and it pertains to stable coins. So within the metaverse, your everyday user is going to want to use something that's pegged to the dollar. So are you guys looking to, make USDC the primary stable coin, or have you guys entertained the thought of, let's see what we can do as far as helping out the development with a Cosmos native stablecoin, not algorithmic, but more like, again, USDC.
Yeah. So I would again go back essentially to whatever the developer demands, we will support. And so and this is a very common pattern where the way that we design the entire platform and design everything is user first, which is oddly not something that's very common in Cosmos. It's like a lot of Cosmos is like, let's build it and then see where the users come from. Yeah, I think the way that we would approach stablecoins is exactly the same thing. The game developers, what stablecoin do they want support for? And we're just gonna assume, based on conversations at least right now, a lot of them, they want USDC. I'm assuming USDT is something that they would probably want. But if kind of market opportunities direct us to other solutions, we're definitely happy to explore those.
I think the general Saga team thinks that USDC is probably the best stablecoin. I think that's pretty hard to debate at this current time, with USDT not being the cleanest shirt, you could say. And USDC will be having a native issued token on in Cosmos through the Noble chain shortly. So, and the timing of when that'll be live and proven versus when Saga will be live lines up. So like, yeah, something could happen there, but TBD. Let's see a USDC in Cosmos first and see how it goes.
Perfect, man. Perfect. So, Jin, this is more of a question to you. What are some of the developments going on within Cosmos that you're personally excited for, that Saga might want to partner up with? Like, I know there are things like Fuel Labs and Dimension XYZ. They're going to help out with this infrastructure of blockchain modularity. But I wanted to know, for you, being a dev for the past like 5-6 years, what are some of the things that you're personally excited for within the Cosmos ecosystem?
Oh, I am not a dev.
Dude.
I was a dev a long time
oh
ago.
gosh, you retired.
His
Retired from that.
His brother was a dev.
He's in the corporate life. He went corporate, man.
He's the ideas guy. He's the vision guy.
The Steve Jobs, bro. The Steve Jobs.
Yeah, that's him.
No. But I would say, there's a lot of really exciting things going on. I would say one thing that I'm like super excited about is developers using more of and developing more features for IBC. So there's the interchain accounts, interchain query stuff that's happening. Osmosis, the team is looking into these outposts who are using essentially these things, which is a really good idea. I think right now the vast majority of IBC is just about token transfers, which is great, but that's not how you really differentiate the product, because you can, Axelar can kind of do that right now without IBC, using, just regular bridges. It's less secure, but the real magic kind of comes into place when you start having these interactions across blockchains. And so I'm like really super excited about that.
And speaking about bridging security, guys, how do we fix that, man? There have been so many exploits, and I know Wormhole had its issue. What's Cosmos doing at the moment to help fix that issue?
Well, number one, IBC, which is like client based, so you're not really trusting a multi-sig or a smart contract. You're trusting the integrity of a different chain. And the bright side is with Tendermint, usually before it hits 66% where you can double spend, it'll just fault and stop and not allow. So like that's how like Luna was a total blow up. It was terrible, but there was no like IBC or bridge vulnerabilities during that. And I'd say the second one is people like Axelar building stuff that that doesn't allow it to be drained. There's a variable in there like, hey, only X amount of liquidity can leave this, go through this pipe during a period of time, and if it hits that threshold, it just stops. So that is like a way to stop catastrophic failures, to just limit outflows. I don't know, Jin, do you got anything else?
Yeah, all those are really good. I think one of the, IBC is, it's not like really, it doesn't have a guarantee that it's not going to have these issues that other bridges have had. It really depends on each implementation. So like the Cosmos SDK has a specific implementation that is pretty robust and proven, but if someone connects from like Avalanche ecosystem or something like that, it really depends on the specific implementation. Although the design scoping has a lot of like protections in place and so I would say one of the biggest advantages that Cosmos has is that we have this like really robust informal systems team that is really making sure that the base level implementation of IBC won't go towards the direction of other bridges. It's something that I think a lot of Cosmos chains take for granted, and we sure do as well. And so having this kind of robust, not only just one team, but there's a lot of teams looking at this and making sure that it's secure. And so that's ultimately, I think, the advantage of Cosmos, is that it's a multi-teamed effort ultimately.
A great example of that is how like all the different stakeholders that are running Cosmos chains are always incentivized to be looking for this. So we saw the issue with BNB chain, and that I don't think it was catastrophic for the rest of Cosmos, but there was a bug found through that. So it's just nice that we have Crypto.com, OKX, Binance. You have all these big dogs running chains. So there's just a lot of energy pointed towards making sure the base stack is secure, which is invaluable, as Jin stated.
Yeah, and like the Osmosis team had like an issue with their IBC or their bridging stuff, right? I believe, and so, or is it? Wait, was that just their pools? I don't remember anymore. But either way,
it wasn't IBC, but IBC did have issues at first. That's for sure. Like the early days of Osmosis was nothing like today.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. So, and a lot of the improvements actually were done by them, and thank God there was a team that went through and battle tested this, right? And this is, I think, going to be a similar process actually for interchain security. It's going to be a little rough for the hub to get this up and running, and essentially, I think a lot of the people who, like Saga and other people who are using interchain security are going to have to get together and battle test it together, I think, ultimately.
My follow-up question is for the overall panel, including Spark IVC, of course. I want to know, with all this stuff being built on Cosmos, you also have Fetch AI, right? And AI, of course, it's a quote-unquote narrative that's been running in tech for the last 10 years. So I wanted to know, with things like Fetch AI being built into Cosmos, right? Is there a future where your everyday user can sort of use this chat GPT sort of app chain where you just type in a few letters like bridge from Axelar to Osmosis, bridge from Osmosis to Saga, right? I wanted to ask the general panel that if that is something that can be seen within the ecosystem over the next probably 10 years, man. I think we're a long ways away from that. But given how complex bridging is at the moment for the everyday user, right? Well, not everyday user, I'm sorry, for the everyday retail user, it can be quite confusing. You got to go from this chain to that chain. And, if anyone here has ever bridged to Conto, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I think something like interchain info could really help facilitate that, like have some sort of universal DApp to help facilitate that.
I
So,
feel like,
oh yeah, go ahead, Timmy.
okay. I feel like for your specific example, I think it'll be much more intuitive and easy for a user to just do it with a much more intuitive UI. Like just very simple, two fields, like what asset do you want to transfer? Where do you want to transfer it to? I think that'll actually be easier if done right than like typing in a request to an AI. But for like a wide number of other things that are a bit more complicated than that can't be kind of automatically scripted under the hood, I do kind of think like an AI assistant is something that will be helpful. And it's actually something kind of in our roadmap, because with Interchain Info, we're eventually going to be sitting on just a massive repository of information, like just relevant information. And so we are planning to eventually train like a chat GPT model on our database and provide exactly that kind of tool where you could ask more open-ended questions, like just what are the difference between the major wallets in the Cosmos? And rather than having to pull up the pages for each of those wallets, the AI would look at them and kind of, compile you a easy to understand comparison of the differences.
Parker, my follow-up
Yeah,
question to that immediately, I do have to follow up with you. Would there be a scenario where perhaps like there would be some sort of proof of stake network integrated within that DApp chain, so you can have various things like proposals, right? Where you can say, like, hey, community fund to help out this being built out on this DApp chain or something like that, right? Things like DAOs that are centered around this AI platform. And you can even go a bit crazier and say you can even have have an entire ecosystem built around it where it helps everything, right?
Where my brain goes with all this is like Timmy, I don't see it as like helping for IBC interoperability, but I do see AI playing a role in portfolio management. So you can see something like Somalia Finance. They're not using AI, but they're using like advanced data analytics to figure out optimal deployments of stable coins throughout. They use Ethereum, and so they do like Uniswap v3 range liquidity and Aave, Borrowland, and Curve and stuff. So anyway, I think there will be advanced versions of that where someone will develop an AI algorithm that will manage deposits, and you just deposit like USDC or Tether or whatever, and it will like optimally earn yields for you, and it'll just take like a small like 50 basis point cut for the tech behind it. That's where I see it going personally. But
Yeah, like I don't see also like why end users have to route things ever. That's not something that I don't see that happening. So like may like essentially, like, think about it this way, like today when you use like wires, like you don't know which intermediate bank it goes through, like you don't follow the Swift commands through various entities from one country to another. And so what I would say is these kinds of AI tools eventually could be used not by the end users, but by the network operators to optimize routes across different use cases. But I'm not sure if like the end users really have to know. Like ideally, we get to a place where the end users don't have to know any of this crap, essentially.
Love those points, Jin. Definitely see it more on the operator side using AI to optimally manage. I mean, you could probably even see it with Saga. I mean, if someone really wants to optimize their chainlet deployments and make sure they don't have too much compute, you could probably use AI to manage your like Saga clusters. Like that seems more
Yeah,
along the lines of
that's
what's
right.
possible.
Yeah, like the validators itself will need to. Actually, that's a great idea. But anyways, that's not a separate conversation.
Another day.
Stop rabbit holing me.
Maybe like mainnet version 9 or mainnet version 69 is going to come out with AI. Don't worry.
I don't know what the like specific official terms might be, but to me, like I kind of think there's like a thin line too between AI and like really smart like learning algorithms. And I'm sure someone who's an AI expert is gonna like facepalm as I say this, but it just seems to me like a lot of the things we've talked about here doesn't necessarily need like a general purpose AI. It just needs like bridging. So bridging can be abstracted, but there doesn't need to be any AI in there. You could just say, I have this asset and I want it to go here. And under the hood, there's just, an algorithm that says, okay, it needs to go to this chain first, then to there. The way Rango Exchange works right now, if you want to swap between different assets on different chains, it doesn't need an AI, but it still has a smart kind of AI-like algorithm that'll figure out, okay, here's all the dexes we can access, all the different bridges available. Let's do some computation, find out what's the most efficient route. And I feel like a lot of that stuff's going to get way more popular. But when I think of like true AI, I think of like human interaction stuff. And maybe that's just my bias as someone who's not developing AI, but just plays with stuff like ChatGPT. And so even with like Similia, you pointed out that it's not technically AI, it's just these smart like analytic algorithms. I don't have like actually an end point in this, but I just think it's like helpful to kind of keep the difference between those in mind.
Yeah, I think
while we continue to like explore what AI means. Yeah.
AI is a tool, right? And humans use tools. So that's why you intuitively are like, this is a human to tool interaction because that's what it is. So even if you're deploying your like your USDC into an AI controlled portfolio manager, it's still just a tool to you. And someone's taking a cut for creating that tool. But anyway, the AI rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Everyone's
dude.
bullish on
We
AI.
are talking about things that are. I mean, I'm saying 10 years in advance, but like, I remember when John McAfee was talking about DeFi in 2017, and like DeFi as we know it today, like that individual was talking about that back in 2016, 2017. And talking about what Rango does, do you guys think perhaps there can be some sort of fork, right, if that's even possible, where it can work for something like, say, if there's a maker DAO being built on Cosmos, right, and you're able to post up different things of collateral, right? So say if I lock up my Osmosis native assets within that platform, right? Would there be a possibility where I can then use my Juno native assets or my Saga native assets across different wallets to sort of serve as a plunge protection? Say like, I am like a 1% drawdown away from liquidation. Those assets across those different wallets will be connected to this UI and basically bail me out. Do you think that sort of gigabrain sidechain would be able to be built out on the Cosmos? And how do you think that would even look like?
Yeah, I don't know.
We're talking
I don't know
like
much about Rango, but
we're talking like super AI, man.
yeah,
That would
I
be
think what you're
incredible.
describing is totally possible. Like, I honestly think what we're going to see from the Cosmos is going to blow people away in 10 years. Just like what happened with the internet. Like, I've already seen the like IBC experience it's crazy to think how shitty it was at first with osmosis. Like people don't understand how bad it was, and it's getting better and better, and it's getting abstracted away more and more. And I just saw one of I can't say who, but a big Cosmos developers has a new wallet coming out soon, and it's pretty much doing what you're describing, King Wabi, of like it's multi-chain, multi-asset. You can overview all your assets across the Cosmos and send from chain to chain, and you don't know what you're doing. Like it's so intuitive and just a little Chrome extension. And so yeah, it's going to get so much better, dude. Just like the internet did. Early on, using the internet was incredibly difficult, but it changed because humans are good engineers. I don't know. Any more feedback on that, Chin?
One of the things that I've been thinking about also is being able to, like, I think multi-hop IBC is something that's gonna really rip this thing apart, essentially, because imagine like an example where we were just talking about like route optimizations through AI or whatnot, but it's actually even more complicated than that, because what if one route is harder technically than going from me directly to osmosis, swapping to another asset, and then moving that asset back to a certain path, right? So it's not even just routes anymore. It's like routes and services in the middle, right? And so there needs to be like some. I don't know how this is going to evolve, but as I said, I'm going to assume that it's going to evolve from demand-driven use cases. So there will, maybe there isn't really a use case for multi-hop IBC, and then that's fine too. But if there is some use cases, I think those things will essentially push all these technologies forward, in my opinion.
And you got to build around the technical limitations of the software we have. And I mean, you have to be pretty into the weeds to know this, but if you send an atom to osmosis and then send that to Juno, that is no longer a fungible token if you just send atom to Juno. These are two different tokens because of the bridge risk and the locked up nature of those. It shows up as two different tokens within the system.
Yeah.
So
that's like something we need to fix, I think.
Yeah.
In the long run.
This is such an easy fix, though. It's kind of absurd to me why Kepler or any wallet doesn't just basically do what osmosis does if you're swapping between pairs that don't have a pool. So like if I'm a new user and I have Atom and I want to buy I don't know what the pool's on there. Let's say stars. And let's just say there is not an Atom stars pool on osmosis. I don't have to know that it's doing this. I can hover over something to get the extra info if I want. But for a good user experience, it's just going to swap my Atom into Osmo and then that Osmo into stars. It's going to do it in the background. And I have no idea why that's not built into a wallet for IBCs. Here's what I have. Here's where I want to get it.
I think it's because interchain accounts and queries were not available until.
Yeah, but Rango has proved, in my opinion, I talk about Rango a lot because they decided to not let that bother them. They support more than just Cosmos and IBC, and they have such an elegant solution of just having a little loading icon going on between the two pop-ups. So you have one Kepler pop-up for your first IBC TX, then a little loading icon, then another one comes up. And the worst you're going to get from that is people going, why is this so slow? And the result of that is probably them learning about IBC, someone explaining what's going on and then being like, oh, okay, so it's two things. That's why it takes like a minute in between. But cool, there's no chance I'm going to lock up my tokens, mess it up. I can do it right in the wallet. I feel like sometimes we let perfect be the enemy of good. Like interchain accounts would make that more seamless. Yeah, but there's ways we can get around it. And I don't know why we're not.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, remember Emrys? Emrys used to do this. Pretty seamlessly.
Jeez, I have not heard about Emrys in a long time, dude.
No, but it was like conceptually, I thought it was a really good idea. It's just like when you want, just say the source and the destination of where you want your asset, and like it figures out your IBC connections for you. It kind of did that, right?
Dude, I literally just saw a wallet that's going to be coming out in a month or two that is doing exactly what you guys are describing, and it like route optimizes to find the cheapest place in the Cosmos through interchain accounts and abstracts all this away. You just say like what coin you start with, what coin you want to end with, and it just does all that for you. And the stars will just end up in the stars account from your atoms at the optimal price through the cosmos. So be on the lookout, guys. There's a cool wallet coming in the next month or two. I can't say any more than that. I just saw the demo 2 days ago. So
All right, perfect, man.
Wait, I guess there's two then.
I'm sure there's a lot of wallets coming out soon, honestly, because Cosmos is fertile ground right now, and Kepler's good, but they're not king made nearly in the sense that MetaMask is. They could totally be disrupted. MetaMask is another story. Good luck disrupting that, but yeah, exciting times.
Hey guys, if anyone wants to come up and give some statements or ask some questions, feel free to do so. Otherwise, we just crossed our hour mark, and we want to be respectful of our producers' time and also our speaker panel's time. So I want to thank everyone here in the audience for joining us. Just as a reminder, in about 5 to 10 minutes after the space has closed, it will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel. And if you enjoy this crypto-specific content from Because Bitcoin and you're a new listener, feel free to give us a follow and turn on bell notifications so that you can be made aware of when I do these spaces. Of course, it does vary. Oftentimes, it's a bit earlier or a bit later than 7 p.m. Eastern time. So with that being said, I want to thank our speaker panel. Thank you so much, Saga. Thank you so much, Spark. And also thank you to Jen. I don't believe I've ever seen you in a space before. So I want to thank you for making your grand debut, brother. It was great speaking to you guys, and I look forward to our next conversation. Any final thoughts, Saga, Spark, Jen? Where can people find you guys?
So yeah, no final comments. You just look out for news dropping from Saga. I mean, there's always big news dropping. We mentioned it earlier, but we have a partnership with Celestia that was recently announced. A partnership with Polygon. There's just big stuff happening all the time. So just stay on the lookout. Definitely follow the Saga account right here. If you want to hear more from my personal account, you can go to at BTC Joe Dirte. I'll let Jen and Timmy go next.
Yeah, same sentiment. I think my Twitter handle is on the invite for this also, so you can kind of follow me there. But in general, I'm in close contact with Joe Dirte for all the Saga stuff. So if you follow the Saga account, you'll be hearing some words from me indirectly.
Whenever you read a token economics paper or any paper that's very technical, that Jin's hands are all over that, and he's the main architect. So, yeah, Timmy, tell us more about Spark IBC, where we can find you, man.
Cool. SparkIBC.zone. That's our site if you want to kind of check out what our platform's about. And if you head there, the first page you'll be greeted with, if you scroll down, will also give you a ton of info on like the second really big thing we're focusing on right now, which is interchain info. So yeah, if you heard us talk about that earlier and that sort of interested you at all, make sure to check that out. And yeah, you'll definitely be seeing us around. We'll be doing more spaces with Because Bitcoin. And tomorrow, we actually have a space with Confio. So I guess I'll shout that out. So at 3 p.m. EST, same time that this space was actually, for whatever time zone you're in, we're going to be having the Confio team here on the Twitter Spaces to chat about getting them funded through community pools and other efforts, as well as just to dive into like what they're doing, how the money's spent, answer any questions people have, all that good stuff. So that's a really important one.
Yeah, keep your eye out for interchain info. It's going to be like the Google or Wikipedia of the Cosmos and Web3, and you can. It's going to be a great resource.
Let's go, man.
We're the term we're going with these days is the social infrastructure. We're building the social infrastructure for the Cosmos.
Beautiful, love it.
Building, dude, building. Let's go, guys. Love it here. Love the Saganauts. Love the Cosmonauts, man. You guys are awesome. I think we're going to have Zaki on next Friday. So I'm excited for that. So with that being said, guys, have a good rest of your Sunday. God bless you. I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl, which should be starting in about an hour and a half. And yeah, man, I'm probably going to go out to a sports grill and have myself some steak fajitas. And
there's a fun. I'll shout this out just because I'm not involved with it in any way, except I donated some NFTs to the prize pool. But there's a cool thing going on Stargaze right now that the space skellies are running, where there's still like 15, 20% of the mint left. Basically, you'll mint an NFT and it'll be a ticket for one of the two teams. And you can trade with people, get the tickets you want. Whatever team wins the Super Bowl, a bunch of prizes will go to everyone who has tickets for their team.
Let's
and
go.
There's even such a cool turnout that the losing team, not everyone will get prizes, but even if you're on the losing team, there's a good chance you might get something. So check that out. Space Skellies on Twitter will be the easiest way to find it, at Space Skellies.
All right, let's go Eagles.
Sure, yeah, I'm betting. I'm betting on them, bro. I'm betting on them, guys. So we'll see how it turns out. So that being said, guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your Super Bowl Sunday for this weekend edition for Crypto World Radio, and our special guests, Saga, Spark, and also the man himself, Jin Kwan. Take care. God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, where we will be having Matt on our show and kind of catch up with him after about 2 months since our last space. So, all right, guys, you can check out our replay in about 5 to 10 minutes on our YouTube. Take care, and God bless you all.
Hey, adios, man.
Bye.
Bullish Saga, bullish.
See everybody. Enjoy your.
The trading current is just math. It's just math. It has a 95.45% hit rate when we deviate outside of CP2 and CN2. All you had to do is recognize that 95% of the time when we get over here, under this blue line, we get some sort of mean reversion. So let's just assume you long right here. 95 out of 100 times, when I buy this, I'm gonna get some sort of bounce. It's just math. Look what would have happened as we move up. Look at the bounce that came after. And now look where we are. If you had just blindly followed the current, you take all emotions out of it, and you say, I'm going to trust the statisticians, you would have bought Dow Jones somewhere down here under 30,000. Depending on how you want to measure it from absolute top to bottom, 20% move. We also have multi-time frame alerts. You don't even have to be at your computer on TradingView. You can ping your phone. Now, the current has some really awesome features, and I would urge you guys to join our Discord to get access to it. We give it away for free as a tool to the community. It's just math. There's really no need to overcomplicate things, not even in the slightest.